Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Hello, friends. Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe coming to you Saturday afternoon, just at about 2 o'clock. The Dallas Mavericks just ran the New York Knicks off the floor, 121-100. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. If we had to watch a Mavericks game that started at 11:30 on a Saturday morning, the least they could do is show up, and they certainly did, at least in the second half.
Well, it was a pretty incredible game because the first quarter was gross. The first quarter was real gross.
Just first half was gross.
Yeah, I mean, they bounced. The second team brought the Mavericks back a little bit, but the Mavericks were down by 15 at one point.
It looked like a here we go again type of game.
Oh yeah, like we're in our chat basically talking because kids' rotations still suck. He's just throwing stuff against the wall. No, I'm glad the Mavericks won, but I'm not going to sit here and act like Kidd did a good coaching job when it came back to the Mavericks hitting a bajillion threes, which is awesome. Yeah. But then and that's basically what happened in the third quarter. Luka Doncic and Tim Hardaway each outscored the Knicks, which is honestly. And this goes to show you what I'm watching, where I'm more paying attention to Tim getting hot, and I had no idea Luka had that many points.
Yeah, I know. It felt I had no when I think he made whatever his last basket was, and Mark Follower was like, and Luka got to 30 again. I was like, wait, what?
Right. I didn't even 19 in the third quarter. And so basically what happened is the Mavericks are down 15 in the second quarter, or maybe as early in the first quarter. But the Mavericks were down 15 at one point in time. Then they were leading by as many as 32. So that's a 47-point swing, right? I'm doing that math right. Down 15 to up 32.
Yes.
I don't remember a Mavs game where something like that happened. I'm sure it has, but it's been just such a long time. And it was, predicated on the fact that Tim Hardaway and Luka just went nuts in the third. And, this was just the Knicks. This was like a sadness bowl going into it, if we're being quite honest, because the Knicks are a mess too. I was exchanging messages with this one guy who writes for a site called The Strickland, and I just asked him, I was like, "Do you guys want your coach fired?" He's like, "Yes." And this is just one of these games where whoever came out of it, that was going to be the narrative. I think if the Mavericks fell again, because their defense was atrocious again, I think Kidd would have been a big narrative coming out of this because it's about getting prepared for games. But the Mavericks started making shots in the third quarter. I was really loving Harp trying to make a hard sell for hey, Nick, Tim in the starting lineup. Tim doesn't need Luka to get shots. Tim just started hitting buckets. I don't want to make it more complicated than that. He's been bad for 60 games.
Yeah, he was getting the same shots. He just started making them. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, he needed that lineup switch when he was first the first full season he was here. I mean, he was coming off the bench, and again, it was the same thing. He was getting the same shots. He was shooting poorly. They put him in the starting lineup, and he played well. I'm starting to think with Tim, there's a lot going on that's not just on the floor stuff. Not trying to say there's something going on with him. I'm just saying it seems like his mindset,
Sure.
like it seems like a lot of rhythm. I don't know. There's a lot that goes into maybe his game that's more than just this guy just needs open shots. So,
well, he talked about it once in the JJ Redick podcast. I want to say it was last season, maybe it was the season before, where he talked about how he's actually learned to do both. But I think there's just something about the kind of shots and the willingness to take them where I don't know. But to be quite honest, like he has been bad for 60 plus games under Jason Kidd. He was bad the first 40 last year. He was basically bad from game 4 on against the Clippers in 2021, where he shot 60% those first 3 games from 3, and that was why the Mavericks were winning. And then he's just been on like an extended cold streak. Iztok Franco had kind of a deeper dive look into his numbers, and Tim, just to be quite honest, like Tim is an average 3-point shooter with 2 outlier years with Rick Carlisle. Now, what is outlier to me? Like we're like, he was shooting close to 40%, but Tim has been shooting 29%. So even if he gets up to like league average at 35, that sort of shot making with the volume that he takes makes a big difference. It's not like we're talking about, Josh Green shooting 2 threes a game. This guy shoots 8 threes a game sometimes, and that really matters. And it started the Mavericks down a really nice path tonight. Luka, of course, started hitting too. Yep. And there's really not much more to say about like the game other than they hit a ton of shots. Is there?
They shot 61 threes, made 24 of them. I don't remember the last time. You don't see a lot of NBA teams shoot 60 or more from 3 in a game. So that was pretty cool to see. I don't know. It just kind of felt like the dam broke, especially in that third quarter. Because, I mean, it wasn't like, Tim and Luka, but Dinwiddie hit 3. Maxey hit 3 threes. Bullock hit 3 threes. And that's probably the name you have to keep an eye on, because guess what? It is December. So Reggie Bullock is legally allowed to start making 3-pointers again.
Well, it's funny you say that, though, because last year he didn't really start making threes until end of January.
Yeah.
He
but just career-wise
has gotten better. Yeah, that's true.
So we'll see. But, I mean, everyone was making them. Again, this is also a team that, like, when things are going good, they're really, like, they're pretty good at, like, when things are going good. Guys feel better. I mean, it's hard to pick yourself up when you're playing. And also, the big thing probably, I know I'm getting a little rambling now, but the defense was the big thing. I mean, this was a team the last couple of games. I mean, they played some of the most embarrassing defense I've seen in like the last week, starting with maybe that Milwaukee or, the Boston game. But, we kind of like, well, Boston's good. Milwaukee's good. And obviously Golden State's good. But, like Detroit, that game was maybe the low point defensively of the season, because, I mean, Detroit does not have offensive players, and they just had guys and they weren't doing creative things. They were just dribbling by, guys in one-on-one situations. And that didn't happen tonight. And the Knicks are a mess, and the way they run, they're kind of like the Mavericks in that they don't have an offense. They just kind of dribble the ball up the floor and see what happens every possession. But they still have like individually talented offensive players that can beat you in one-on-one situations if you're not game. And for the first time, I felt like in 2 weeks, the Mavericks were just like stopping dribble penetration, and that kind of ruined whatever else they wanted to do. Like,
well, and this has got to drive a defensive-minded guy like Kidd nuts. But
and Sweeney, there's this main assistant. Yeah,
well, their defense improved once they started hitting shots.
Yeah,
that's got to and that's been the case for the Mavericks going back to the like year 2 of Luka with Porzingis, where it's just like, all of a sudden they defend when they're hitting threes. And I get it. You're more energized when the ball's going down. When they probably wish they had more defensive minded guys. I mean, Kidd probably wishes that, but if you have a team of primarily offensive guys, your best players at least are offensive guys. Then it psychologically makes sense that you're trying harder on defense when you're seeing things go down on offense. Like, it's just there.
For sure. And this was like another game, like, I know people like really hate Reggie Bullock right now, but like he's a good, he's locked in. He's a good defender. Like,
he just hasn't been locked in. Him and Dorian, the Dorian minutes are basically being hidden by Reggie. But I've talked with people that cover the league nationally, and Dorian has been a net neutral this year. And that really harms the Mavericks when he's just kind of not doing much. His rebounding is down significantly percentage-wise. His defense has not really been there. Maybe, and there can be questions as to why, and I think they're played a ton of minutes for months and months and months, and maybe it's just taking him a while to get his legs under him again. I don't know, but it was nice to see something. I still, I still think the Mavericks will try to shake it up at some point. I don't know how. I wrote the piece that the there's no help coming, but I the recipe cannot be make shots like that. That just can't. That can't be the only thing.
Might be. But this was huge because their next three are Phoenix, Denver, Milwaukee. Like, if they lost this game, it would be like 2 games under 500, where you're about to face three teams that are probably going to beat you. That would have been, we would have been at DEFCON 1 for sure. So this was, I'm sure the Mavericks aren't dumb. They look at the schedule too. There was a lot riding on this game for them. They really needed it. And it was, it's just nice. They've done enough in the previous 21 games that you can't look at this game and be like, all right, they're back on track, because, people said that after the Golden State win, and we saw what happened in the very next game. So they're not back on track, but they just mentally probably needed a game like this. And hallelujah, Luka didn't play 30 minutes in an NBA game in a win, which I don't remember if that's happened this season. So, you kind of take what you can get. Like, if they're going to turn the season around, there's going to be a starting point, so I can see people saying, well, why not this game? So of course, why couldn't it be this game? But they just,
honestly, the Knicks have had their number for 4 years.
They have.
Like, it's Julius Randle, and he did it in the second quarter, just like kind of wears Dallas like a skin suit. He just murders them, and that stopped in the third quarter tonight. It was really something.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Jalen Brunson didn't really do anything. 13 points. Yeah, bad game, but like, he didn't. I'm not a guy that's watching the Knicks every night. Like, he just doesn't touch the ball a lot. Like,
well, that was kind of like, I think he has
crazy.
Actually, because his numbers are really good.
Yeah, but this game he didn't. That was weird.
That was the concern, though, going in, where it's like you got another 2 set of dominant lefties, and what's wrong with me?
Barrett
and Randall. And Randall, yeah. And so it's just like, I don't know, the Knicks shot chart was actually fairly distributed. You got like Randall took the most at 15, but that was just peculiar.
I was expecting Brunson to take the reins in this game, and he just kind of played it felt like he was playing like a preseason game. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, good for the Mavericks. It's really funny. Man, their wins, when they win big, they win. Like, they've got the big 41-point win against Memphis. They got the 28-point win against Denver.
Well, the point differential is really good.
I'm
looking for it right now.
If they don't play a clutch game, they win by like 30. Like, it's basically.
Yeah, the Mavericks are 5th in the West, tied with.
Their data is so funny, man. It's so funny. With all these big blowouts.
Well, the point differential, so you got Phoenix with +7, New Orleans with 6.6, then Jazz 2.7, or I'm sorry, Kings 2.7, Jazz 2.4, Mavs 2.3. And the like point differential is a pretty, now that we have enough games, point differential is actually pretty indicative of what this team could be. Which is to say, a middling Western, like, they're not a losing team in the West. That's why it's just, I want to say it was Skin Wade who said this to me a couple of weeks ago, where it's just like, guys just have to hit shots. JJ Redick had this out in his newsletter where he's looking, it's like a simple swing back in the right direction for Bullock and Hardaway actually probably does get them a couple more wins. It doesn't change the kind of style or the
overall
Yeah, like
Kind
they're
of,
still going to play this way, and they're still going to have some pretty awful losses, I think, just because of the way the team is constructed.
but they're not going to be a 11 seed, which is how they were playing for
500 basketball for like Luka doesn't cut it for me. I still think they're like a 5 to 10 game over 500 team.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why these starts to the last 3 seasons just have us. I think that's why everyone goes crazy, because it's just like, how do you have a player averaging 34 points a game and you're 10 and 11 going into your 22nd game of the season? So it should eventually turn around, and maybe this is
it's not going to be in December. December is going to continue to suck. Like I'm trying to like figure out what that means for the narrative and because the game, the schedule that you talked about, just it really matters. I mean, they go. What did you say here? I'm pulling it up right now.
It's Phoenix, Denver, Milwaukee in the next 3.
Yeah.
And Denver with Jokic, which you haven't played Jokic yet this season. And by the way,
and then they
really
see
good.
Cleveland twice in the middle of the month.
Yep,
then they see
really
Minnesota a couple of times before Christmas, and that could be a sadness bowl. But if Karl Anthony Towns is out, they might actually play more sensibly. Then they got the Lakers on Christmas, Knicks. Like they could. Then they go like, I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I don't see like big opportunities for win streaks. I see the opportunity for them to win like 2 out of 3 in certain circumstances, like where they go, after the 3 games you mentioned, they go Chicago, Oklahoma City, Cleveland. They should beat the Bulls. They should beat Oklahoma City. They should, but should doesn't really matter much with this team, because we saw the betting lines. They're one of the worst teams against the spread in the NBA, which that's just a lot of volatility.
Anyway. Yeah. That's why this is like, I mean, I'm sure people are going to be like, why aren't you guys like more excited? And I'm like, I
definitely like this, because now the rest of my day is fine. I'm going to go host the live show. People will be happy, and then we'll go on with our day and not have to talk about the Mavericks until Monday night.
Right. And that'll be fun. But like, let's see them put something back. They haven't put together. I mean, they haven't won back-to-back games since the middle of November. So, we got to see them get back on that horse before we can be like, all right, season's turned around, and we'll see. But this was obviously much needed for sure.
Like that take. All right, let's get out of Dodge. You got anything else?
No, that's it. Let's enjoy our Saturdays.
All right, Josh was kind enough to write the recap today, because I apparently don't know what time games start and got confused with my son's YMCA schedule. And we'll have a couple more things, but it's weekend. It's I don't know. We're kind of in we're approaching like the middle 40 games is when I have a really hard time being like, hey guys, we need people to write stuff for the site. Because it's just like, well, what are we going to write about now? Do they need to hit their free throws? Are they going to make a trick? No, it's like no one wants. I don't want to do I don't want to do some of the more easy, like low hanging fruit stuff that we could really crack on until we're getting closer to the trade deadline. So, all right, this has been fun. Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe, Mavs Moneyball After Dark, but daytime edition. Look for the live show, and thank you for stopping by. Everybody have a great weekend.